Hi everyone, welcome to our intermediate mat Pilates class. I'm Sarah. So let's start in standing today. Let's take our feet hip distance apart. So our easy way to find hip distance, bring your feet together, then take your toes out and then take your heels out. We're going to soften through the thighs, soften through the knees ever so slightly. We're going to pull up a little bit taller. So let's start at the base of the spine, work all the way through all those vertebrae, pulling up from the crown of the head towards the ceiling. So that whole lengthening process starts at the tailbone and pulls us all the way up tall. Good. So let's bring the chin parallel to the floor. Take it back a little bit. Excellent. And then let's draw those abdominals in. So if you had an imaginary belt on with 10 notches, we'd be pulling it into number 3, which is just enough to activate those stabilizing muscles. Fabulous. And we can still breathe, really important. So just onto number 3, switch them on, scoop that tummy button towards the spine, getting that abdominal hollowing. Wonderful. So still feeling tall, drawing those abdominals in, and then let's find our neutral pelvis. So I'm going to pop my hands, my fingers on my hip bones so that I can just have a few little tilts forwards and backwards until I can loosen up the lumbar a little tiny bit, and then secondly, hopefully find our neutral pelvis a little bit easier. So we want those fingers, those hip bones at the front to be facing forwards. So for me, I just tuck my tailbone under a little bit more to bring myself into neutral. Fabulous. Okay, we're going to open up the collarbones, make the arms feel heavy by our sides. So that takes the shoulders away from the ears. Lovely. So let's start the nice breathing pattern. In through the nose, out through the mouth, keeping that beautiful posture we've now created. Wonderful. So keep that breathing going. You want to fill the ribs up so that they push out towards your elbows as you breathe in, and then as you breathe out so that they contract away from the elbows. So it's that feeling of laterally filling up the lungs, filling up the rib cage. Lovely. And then we're going to find our nice centered position with our weight even between our feet. So I'm going to find big toe, little toe, heel to form my tripod in my feet. Create a little bit of an arch under the arch of your feet. And then let's just take our weight slightly over to one side and then over to the other. So I'm just doing tiny little sways whilst holding that lovely posture. Feeling super tall and still pulling in on the abdominals. Wonderful. Let's take the weight a little bit forwards into the toes and back into the heels. It's just small sways, still feeling tall. And then we're going to find that nice centered position so that we feel evenly weighted on our feet between those tripod points and between our left and our right foot. Wonderful. We're ready to start. All right, we're going to take it into some neck rotation work. So on the next out breath, we're going to look over our shoulder. Let's come back through center with a breath in, and on the out breath over to the other side, looking over the other shoulder. Fab. Breathing in through center, breathing out, looking over the shoulder. Keep it going. Shoulders are down away from the ears. Arms are heavy by your sides and we're open across the collarbones. Wonderful. Keep the breathing going. In through the nose, out through the mouth as you look over your shoulder. We just want to edge a little bit further round each time. Millimetres. I'll take millimetres. We'll do just that little bit more nudging round with that range of movement. Wonderful. And on this next one, rest at center. We're going to take the chin to the chest this time. So a breath in to prepare, and on the out breath, let's take the chin to the chest. Breath in through the middle, breath out, just looking up a little bit towards the ceiling. Good. Breath in through center, breath out down to your chest. Good. Breath in through center, Breath out, looking up a little bit. Good. These are skull rocks. Breath in through centre. Breath out, looking down. Keep it going. Good. Just that little stretch. Another couple here. And rest in centre. Wonderful. Let's take the ear down to the shoulder, not the other way around. So let's keep the shoulders pinned down and open across these collarbones. Wonderful. Let's breathe out. Take the ear to the shoulder. Breathe in, up to centre. Pulling up tall. Just a little reminder to be tall as you come to centre. Breathing out. Ear to shoulder. Breathing in, up through centre. Breathing out. Good. Breathing in. Keep it going. Wonderful. We're trying to keep the shoulders down. Let's try and encourage the shoulders to stay in that lovely position, nice and wide at the collarbones. Tall through each centering. Good. Still got that little connection in the abdominals, hopefully. Good. One more to this side. And up to centre. Let's just have a little roll round of the shoulders. Good. And back the other way. Just a little bit of a loosener. Wonderful. All right, we're going into some shoulder squeezes. Focus is on the shoulder blades. So think of those flat bones, those shoulder blades, and we want them to slide across the back of our rib cage a little bit. So there's muscle underneath the shoulder blade on top of the rib cage, and that's going to help, along with some other muscles, to draw the shoulder blades in towards the spine as we do this exercise. So we're tall, knees are soft, nice and evenly weighted, shoulders are open and arms are heavy. We're going to contract in on those abdominals just that little bit. Take a breath in, and on the out breath we're squeezing those shoulder blades towards the spine, towards each other. Good. And we're breathing in as we return. So we're breathing out, drawing the shoulder blades together. Breathing in to return. Wonderful. So it's the shoulder blades doing the work rather than the elbows or the hands trying to initiate the movement. Wonderful. Just turn around so you'd have a little view from this way. So move my hair. So we want to draw the shoulder blades together and return. Good. Wonderful. Two more of those. Fabulous. And then give your arms a little shrug. Well done. All right. Still in that lovely standing posture. Just have a little run through from the feet. Think to yourself whether you're still tall, knees soft, drawn in on the abdominals. And we're going to keep the shoulders down, but take the arms up into this sort of I surrender type position. All right. So I want to try and keep nice and open across the pecs here, across the front of the shoulders. And we're just going to reach alternate arms up to the ceiling, up to the sky. So I'm going to breathe in to prepare. On the out breath, one arm is reaching up. Breathe in to come back. Good. We're breathing out, taking one arm up. Breathing in to return. Breathing out, reaching up. Breathing in to return. So keep it going and just check through whether your abdominals are still nicely engaged. What we want to try and avoid is any arching or stretching through here as we reach up. So I'm keeping everything nice and tight. Relaxed piece of bungee, it's still at its resting length here as we take the arms up. So keep it going. I'm sure it's looking fabulous. Well done. Good. Shoulders are still down. I know. I do go on a bit. Good. Keep it going. Okay, before the arms completely tire out, let's add in a little bit of coordination and a little bit of heel peel work. So as one arm comes up, the opposite heel peels off the floor and back down with both to centre. Good. So we're going to reach one arm up, peel one heel off, bring it back to centre. So we're breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. Really important we keep the weight 50-50 and the hips nice and level. Good. We're engaged in the abdominals. Fab. Good. And the knees are pushing forwards over that big toe, second toe. Lovely. Let's just do this last one. And then relax the arms. Have a little shake of the shoulders. Have a little jig jog on the spot. Through the feet, through the ankles. Well done. All right, let's take it into some squats. So remember, drawing in the abdominals. We want a little bit of flattening through the back as we tuck our tailbone into neutral. So, our pelvis into neutral even. So pelvis into neutral, tuck the tailbone under a little bit. We're coming down with a float. And back up. So we're breathing out as we come down. In as we come up tall. Wonderful. Breathing out, come down. Breathing in, come up tall. Breathing out, come down. Breathing in, come up tall. Breathing out. Breathing in. So the weight's going through the heels and your bottom is doing a lot of work. It's that analogy of trying to sit in a chair that's just out of reach. So all the weight's going back, sinking through those heels, and the glutes are really squeezing to help come back up. Chin is tucked in, and we're drawing the abdominals in, so we get that hollowing feeling. Good. Wonderful. 2 more. Lovely. So let's come down one more time. Let's rock forwards onto the toes. Let's rock back and come up tall. Well done. Let's come down. Let's rock forwards, come back, come up tall. Fab. Coming down. Come forwards, rock back and tall. So all we're doing is coming up onto the toes, big toe, second toe, and coming up tall. The abdominals are still pulled in. Well done. Side view. Lovely. 2 more of those. And then come up to standing, have a little walk through the legs. Okay, we're going to come down onto all fours. Anyone who finds the wrists uncomfortable in all fours, remember, you can either block up so that you rest on your forearms or roll over the top of your mat so that you change the angle at the wrists a little bit. So that's another option. Okay, so in all fours, we want the weight nice and even between the hands and the knees. Hands are hip distance apart, knees are hip distance apart, hands are shoulder width apart, knees are hip width apart. We've lengthened through the spine, and I'm going to tuck the tailbone under a little bit so I find my neutral pelvis and I draw in on the abdominals. Imagine that glass of champagne, I always want to rest on my lower back. So it's got to be flat enough so that I don't lose that. Okay, so weight over the hands and the knees evenly. Let's think about lengthening through the arms, drawing the chest up away from the mat and drawing the shoulder blades together a little bit. Okay, so we're tall, lengthen through the arms, soft elbows, engaged at the shoulder blades a little bit, so we're nice and flat through the shoulders as well. We're drawn in on the abdominals, so we've hollowed out, scooped in that tummy button towards the spine. Wonderful. So from here, let's take the weight back a little bit, so it comes off the hands a little bit, so I've just drawn my bottom a little bit further back towards my heels, just slightly. We're going to lift one hand off, we're going to thread it under us, rotating through the spine and turning our head to follow the direction of the hand. So threading the needle. Come back in to our box position. So we've just taken the weight off the hands a little bit to make it easier to unweight, okay? Still need to scoop out on the abdominals. Take the other hand, let's thread it under, Getting a little bit of rotation through the spine and then bringing it back. Other hand, thread it under. Good. So I'm keeping my hips still and I'm not letting them start to twist as I go. Because I'm pulling in on the abdominals here, we're still flat across the lower back. Nice and strong there. So the rotation is happening quite high up in the spine rather than into the lower part. We'll do some lower rotation later. Unweight. Keep it going. Want to feel even through the hips with our weight and hopefully not unweighting the knees too much as we change over from left to right. Good. Let's do the last one. I'll just finish off this one. So I'm even, and then we'll take it into a shell stretch. Good. Wind your wrists around a few times and just release into there. Well done. Okay, we'll come into prone, so lying on our front. I'm going to use a little head block for my forehead. That just helps keeping that length through the neck in front lying position. If you've got your little folded towel, that'll be magic as well. Most people in class are using a little block or something just to help with that length through the neck. Okay, so we come down onto our fronts. The block or the towel is going to be under your forehead. You still want room for your nose to breathe. All right. Going to have our hands nice and relaxed by our sides. Okay, so relaxed elbows, you can have them high up here or a little bit lower down if you prefer. We're going to be looking straight down at the mat when we do the exercise, but just so that the audio is clear, I'll talk us through it in this position. So, let's just have a rock side to side across our hip bones to begin with. Have a little jiggle, release the glutes for a moment and just free up those hip bones so that you can start to sense where evenly weighted would be, where you'd be centered. Okay, so find that nice middle point where you're resting on your pubic bone. Pubic bone is pushing down into the mat a little bit, and we're going to draw the abdominals in. So still think about drawing the abdominals in even though they're sort of lying on the mat. We still need to switch them on and make them work. Okay, pubic bone pushing down, tailbone tucked under. We're going to do single leg lifts. So we're going to keep hips and tops of thighs on the floor. We're going to lengthen one leg away, engage the glute, and take the leg into a little lift. Just a little lift. We don't want to overextend the lower back. We're keeping the hips, tops of thighs on the mat. So we're keeping it here and then lowering. Okay, good. Then the other leg. Keep the hips evenly weighted. Engage the abdominals. Check the pubic bone is pushing into the mat. We're extending, lengthening and lifting that leg. It's a really small lift. It's about engaging the glutes, working the abdominals and feeling lengthened through the legs. Alright, so we're going to work alternate legs. Let's breathe in to prepare. Breathe out, extend the leg away and take it up. It's almost like a brace. And then return. Good. Breathing out, lengthen and lift the other leg. And return. Good. Keep it going in your own time. The abdominals must be switched on. And that pubic bone pushing into the floor. Wonderful. Shoulders are relaxed. We want the abdominals and the glutes to be doing some work. We don't want the shoulders to be taking that job on board. Good. Keeping it going. It really is that pointing of toes, lengthening of the legs away from you. Really good. Last couple. Well done. And when you're done, have a little rock side to side across those hip bones. Okay, really nice. So we're going to do a little bit of work into the shoulders again. So in standing we did the shoulder squeezes, the shoulder squeezes. We're going to do it in prone, in front lying. So just to strengthen and really work into those shoulder muscles a little bit. So again, we're going to be in front lying with our head on the block. This time, switch off your glutes a little bit. Okay, you don't want them to be overworking. But let's switch on the abdominals. Check your tailbones tucked under and your pubic bones pushing into the mat. So you've got that lovely length and that neutral pelvis here. Good. Take the arms long by your sides. Okay, on the out breath, we're going to squeeze the shoulder blades together. The front of the shoulders will lift away from the mat. And then control that return with a breath in. So we're breathing out. The arms are long by your side. Then we squeeze, drawing the shoulder blades towards each other, towards the spine. And return. Wonderful. Breathing out. Bring them up. Breathe in to return. Breathing out, lengthen, then squeeze. And return. Sure, it's looking fabulous. Keep it going. So it's all about checking that the arms are long by your side, the shoulder blades are hanging into those back pockets of your trousers before we start to open up across the pecs and strengthen into the shoulders. Good. So there's a little bit of rotation that happens with the hands because the shoulders are rotating a little bit as well. They're coming from the front round to the back a little bit. So the hands will go with the movement. Wonderful. Nice and even through the hip bones. And remember, those abdominals are still working. Sure they are. Good. And the pubic bones still pushing down into the mat. Lengthen before we squeeze. Really good. Last two. Lengthen, squeeze. And then take your arms up, have a little rock side to side again. Well done. I'm going to pop the block to the side for the moment. And we're going to come onto our side. Where would we be without a plank? So let's try a nice side plank. We're going to start off with knees bent in this position. Elbow in line with the shoulder, so it's under the shoulder, and my forearms just flat on the mat for a bit of stability. Knees at 45 degrees there. Feet just resting on my centre line. Okay, so they're just in line with your bottom. Okay, so let's lift this waist a little bit so that we're not relaxed here, sunk into the shoulder. I want to be strong through the shoulder, so push up through the elbow all the way through the shoulder. Lift that waist a little bit so that it's switched on, so it's working. And then take your arm, lie it on top of your top leg. So we're open still across the chest and the hip bones are facing forwards as well. Knees are going to stay glued together, feet are going to stay glued together. All right, let's try and get some neck alignment here as well. So it's always a bit tricky without a mirror or somebody telling you, but we really want to try and get that nice neck extension so you're not sort of tilted one way or the other. So if you're working out with somebody, I'm sure they'll tell you. But just have a little adjustment maybe of your neck and sort of work out where your head is in space and time, as we say. All right, shoulders down, switched on here, abdominals pulled in, ready to work. Let's take a nice breath in to prepare on the out breath. We're heading straight up with those hips towards the ceiling and gently, gently back down. Good. We're driving up with both hips to the ceiling, gently coming back down. Wonderful. Let's breathe out, come up. Breathe in, come back down. We're not letting it all go here. We're staying strong. Good. Let's do 3 more. Coming up, coming down. Hips are forwards. It really is a lift up straight to the ceiling. I can't count. Let's do this last one. Wonderful. Just have a little stretch out for a moment and relax there. Good. Okay. I'm going to use my head block again. I'm going to pop it between my lower arm and my ear. So if you've got your towel, you can do the same. And this top hand, if you want to rest it here for clam, which is what we're going to do, you can do. I actually quite like to pop it on my hip bone because I get feedback as to what my hips are doing. So for clam, knees stay in exactly the same position, feet stay in the same position, no alteration there. Shoulders are down, the waist is still active, so we're still switched on with this waist here. So I could just squeeze my fingers between my waist and the mat. Drawn in on the abdominals, so we want to stabilise through the hips. We're going to breathe in to prepare, and on the out breath, we're taking one knee, top knee, away from the bottom knee, keeping the feet glued together. And then we're squeezing that top leg back down, like there's some resistance there. Good. We're going to breathe out, take that top knee away, opening up through the hip, this top hip joint, as much as you're able to. And back down. Good. So breathing out, opening up. There's glute work going on here, and there's hip stabilising and range of movement. So it's all good stuff. And back down. Breathing out, open up, well done. Breathing in to return. So keep it going. We're going to do 4 more. I'll try and count these. We've got 2 more. Well done. And I know this is the last one. Fabulous. All right. So you can either stay at this level, level 1, for your clam, or if anybody would like a progression, let's just lift the feet up into the air. So they don't have to be higher than your bottom. I don't think that's higher than my bottom, that's about right. So still the same position. It's going to be harder to stabilise through the hips. So we're trying to avoid them rocking forwards or back as we open up. We're staying absolutely rock solid here. Drawing on the abdominals, breathing out. Top knee comes away, bottom knee is staying where it is. Squeezing as you come back down. Good. So it might feel a little bit more wobbly, so really focus on drawing in on the abdominals and using some glute. Squeeze that glute, make it work, switch it on and fire it up. Good. Hips staying forwards and stacked. Wonderful. Let's do 4 more. Really nice. Last one. Counting must have improved. Bring your feet down. Give that leg, give that glute a bit of a rub. Okay. So we're going to come onto the other side straight away. Those of you that know me know it's because I usually forget what I've done otherwise. So I'll bring the block with me, but I'll pop it to the side because we're going into side plank to begin with. So resting on the elbow is nicely positioned under the shoulder, and we're driving up from the elbow all the way through the shoulder, so we're nice and strong here, not sunk down. So be strong here. Lengthen all the way from the crown of the head through to the tailbone and tuck that tailbone under, flattening off the lower back, drawing in the abdominals. We're lifted in the waist here, so it's active, and the arms are lengthened down away from the ears. Good. On the out breath, we're going to come up, driving both hips up towards the ceiling, and on the in breath, we're coming back down. Good. We're driving up on the out breath, coming back down with the in breath. Good. Keep it going. We're keeping the knees squeezed together. We're keeping that waist nice and active. Good. We're going to do 3 more. It's very gentle as you touch back down onto the mat. And the last one. Wonderful. Have a little stretch out. Take the weight off that arm. And then we're going to bring the head block or the little hand towel back in. Keep the knees bent, one leg stacked on top of the other. I'm going to take my hand, pop it on my top hip, and we're ready for our clam position. So make sure the waist is lifted, arms are down away from the ears, there's that little gap between the shoulders and ears, and the tailbone still tucked under. We're going to keep the hips stacked. So top knee comes away from the bottom knee. Active in the glutes, active around the thigh muscles as well. We want to squeeze back down. Breathing out as we open up. Breathing in as we squeeze back down. Good. Keeping that connection in the abdominals. Lovely, well done. And we want to keep both hips facing forwards. So if you feel the top hip starting to rock back at all, just adjust. It might be that you don't have to take the knee quite as far. So strengthen in a smaller range of movement and work within those limitations and build the strength there, rather than going into a bad position where the top hip rolls back. Good. Let's do 4 more of those. Last 2. Great. Wonderful. So the next set, you can leave the position as it is and work here, or you can take the feet up so they're about bottom height, I think. So about there. Keep the same position everywhere else, drawing on those abdominals, and we're still going to take the top knee away from the bottom knee. So lifting up and opening out, good, and bringing it back closed, good. So the feet stay up in the air, we're still drawing in the abdominals, and we're still trying to get that little squeeze back closed, good. It's going to be a little bit harder to keep that stability that we've got. Good, so we want to keep both hips facing forwards. Again, we're trying not to let that top hip rock back. Let's do these last 4. Drawing in on the abdominals, using the glute. Last 2. Last 1. Bring the feet down. Give that glute a bit of a pat. Well done. So we're going to come onto our backs. Supine, relaxed supine. So we can take a little head block or a towel, pop that under our head for comfort. Okay. All right, so feet hip distance apart, just check they are, knees hip distance apart. Let's get into neutral pelvis, so I'm tucking my tailbone under and just softening my lower back a little bit so it draws towards the mat. Switch those abdominals on, draw them together, hips just staying engaged with the lower ribs there. Good. We're going to switch on all these abdominal muscles by drawing in here, hollowing out by pulling the tummy button towards the spine, and the arms are long by our sides. Lengthen that neck by making sure that your chin is tucked in, like you've got that orange underneath it. So we don't want to be rocked back or too far down here. Open across the collarbones, sink those shoulder blades into the mat. Good. So we're going into some hip openers, some knee drops. So on the out breath, we're going to let one leg, one knee fall out to the side. It's a controlled movement, and then we're going to use some inner thigh and a bit of glute to bring it back in, and then we're going to work the other leg. So let's breathe in to prepare. Check we're in neutral, draw the abdominals in, out breath, out to the side, and squeeze and bring it back in, squeezing the inner thigh primarily and around the glute. Other knee drops out and then back in, and we're trying to keep both hips on the floor at the same time. So as I drop one knee out, the other one has to stay nice and still, weight that other hip into the mat. So you might have to feel like you're almost pushing down a little bit more with that other hip. So as my left knee drops out, I'm almost sinking that right hip down a little bit more so that I can control those hip bones. Good. So imagine a little spirit level across your abdominals, across your hip bones here. We want to keep this knee still. Good. Breathing out, and then breathe in, squeeze, bring it back in. Wonderful. So shoulders are nice and relaxed. All the work's going on with the abdominals and around the hip and thigh muscles. Good. Well done. Keep it going. Let's make this the last one. Okay, So we're going to keep going with the knee drops, but for those who want to add in a little bit more coordination, we can add in some arm movements. So we're going to float the arms up towards the ceiling, but keep the shoulder blades flat on the mat. So as one knee drops out to the side, we're going to take an arm up over our head, keeping that connection between rib and hips, and then bring it back in. Good. So other knee drops out to the side, arm comes up over your head. Good. And bring it back in. Lovely. Breathing out. Breathing in. Breathing out. Breathing in. Remember to keep that weight through the hip bones. We're not lifting up at all. So we're really having to work on keeping that lower back lightly in contact with the mat. Good. Shoulders flat and really nice engagement between the ribs and the hips. So as I take my arm up, I'm not letting that lower back arch at all. Good. Last two. Last one. And float the arms down. Well done. All right. I'm going to take the arms out quite wide. Okay. And just into that sort of low position. I'll do one arm better than the other, I suspect here. Come a little bit further onto the edge of my mat. Okay, great. So, arms just out to the side. They can be a little bit further down here or a little bit higher up, wherever you're comfortable with. But keep the shoulders down away from the ears and shoulder blades flat on the floor. So we're starting off with the feet and the knees squeezed together. We're going to go into some rotation work. We want to draw in the abdominals, flatten that sacrum, that lower back onto the mat. We're going to breathe out as we take both knees over to one side, keeping the shoulders on the floor. My knees are coming to the right, I'm going to look to the left. Let's come in through centre with the neck and rock across the sacrum, over to the other side, and I'm looking to the opposite direction with my head. Good. Back in through centre, you're rolling across the sacrum as you come back through centre. Shoulders are staying down and we're keeping the knees glued together. Good. And just go to the point of rotation that you feel comfortable with. Doesn't have to be far, it's just what feels comfortable for you. We're never going into pain or discomfort. Wonderful. These are really nice lower back releases for a lot of people. Shoulders down, still drawing in on the abdominals. Good. Let's do these last two. And then you're finishing off. So draw the knees into the chest if you're happy to, and have a little rock across that sacrum. Good. And then we'll take one leg down even, and then the other. All right, we're going back into hip distance apart position for the feet and the knees. So line them up again, hip distance apart. Let's tuck the tailbone under and make sure our abdominals are still switched on. Shoulders are down away from the ears, arms are just heavy by our sides, close to our sides. So I'm going to take one leg up into tabletop. So I just want that nice sort of 90 degrees to start with at the hip, but it's not going to matter too much in a minute because we're going to do some hip opening, hip mobility work. So nice lengthened foot, pointed toes. Really important that we keep both hips weighted on the mat. So draw that lower back down onto the mat a little bit, draw in on these abdominals, so nothing's arching or lifting here at any point. If it feels like it's going like that, just come out of position and then reset and come back into it. But you want to make sure there's no arching here, we want to make sure everything's pushed down into the mat. So in our tabletop, let's start with some little circles, imagining a piece of chalk on our knee that's just going to start drawing some little circles. Good. So keeping the other leg as stable as I can. A little bit when we did the knee opening exercise, the hip drops, knee drops. Good. And we're just imagining that we're drawing those circles with our knee. So as you take the leg further away from you, that's where arching tends to want to happen. So really focus on keeping drawn in. And the movement's coming from the hip. So I'm opening through the hip, lengthening through the thigh. So you'll see the thigh moving. Okay, rather than changing the angle at the knee. So it's the thigh moving, opening up here. I can tell I'm opening up into my hip joints because I can hear the clunking. Good. Keep it going. Make them a little bit bigger. Keeping this other knee nice and still. Good. Too much running, not enough stretching, I think, for me. And bring that leg back down. Right, let's try the other one. Let's take it into tabletop. Let's flatten that lower back onto the mat to make sure we've got good engagement here. A little bit of chalk on the knee. That's what's going to draw the circles on the ceiling for us. You're opening up through the hip. And that thigh is lengthening, moving away from you. Good. And again, a little bit like with the other work we were doing, you might find that one glute, one hip's a little bit stronger. So focus on getting really nice positions and really keeping that lower back flattened onto the mat. Good. Good. Really pulling in on those abdominals. Keep it going. Last few. Hips beautifully weighted. And make that the last one. Bring the foot down. Well done. So we're still in relaxed supine position and we're going to do some single leg extensions with added coordination from the arms. So abdominals switched on, lower back pushed into the mat, shoulders down and relaxed. We're going to take one leg up into tabletop. We're going to float both arms up. So actually the arms are both going to work. So lower back's really important they stay flattened on the mat. We're going to lengthen one leg away, keeping the thighs lined up. One arm comes up, one arm comes down. So opposite arm stretches away so you get that diagonal lengthening. And back in. It's going to do 5 of those. Let's do 4 more. 4, 3, breathe out, breathe in. 2, 1. And return. Let's take the other leg up into tabletop. Flatten those lower backs, draw those abdominals in, float the arms up. So opposite arm to opposite leg is getting that diagonal stretch. So lengthen one leg away, lengthen the opposite arm and bring it back in. We're breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in, breathing out, breathing in. Last 2. So remember, we just want to make sure that that lower back stays in contact with the mat and abdominals switched on. Let's float one other leg up to tabletop, float both arms up, stretching on the diagonal. We're going to float that leg out, stretch it, lengthen to the fingertips of the opposite arm and back in. Doing 4 more. Last one. Bring it back in, float it down. Change legs, making sure hips are evenly weighted, lower back's flat on the floor. Let's float both arms up. 5 of these, diagonal stretch. So stretch and return. 4 more. Good. 3 more. Back in, float it down. Let's swap over legs. Let's do another set each side. Recheck that lower back's not arching. Float the arms up. Off we go. Arms down, leg down, swapping over. Evenly weighted through the hips. Switched on in the abdominals. Float the arms up. 5 of these. Off we go. Last 2, last 1, float the arms down, bring the foot down, and have a little hug in of the knees, a little rock side to side. Okay, I'm going to pop the block out. I'm going to keep that hip width apart through the feet and the knees, just recheck it. And we're going to go up into some shoulder bridge just to reverse the movement through our spine. So shoulders down and relaxed. Let's check the abdominals are switched on and we flatten the lower back onto the mat, tuck the tailbone under, squeezing the glutes as we take off. We start to lengthen through the spine until we're up on the shoulders or just to your chest level, and then start to soften as you come back down. Again, we're trying to get as much mobility through that spine as we can. So each of those vertebrae wants to have its little moment of glory. So squeezing the glutes, flattening the lower back. A little bit of inner thigh is going to start to work so that you can stabilise. And then softening as you come back down. Good. Breathing wise, let's just breathe out as we come up. Breathe in at the top. Breathe out as we soften back down. Looking for the glutes and the hips to come down at the same point in time. Off we go again. Softening back down. Good. Let's breathe out, come up. Breathe in at the top, breathe out, come back down. So work to your own pace. Come up as high as you feel comfortable. Really imagining, visualising those vertebrae and trying to give them each a little moment to melt back down into the mat and its own little moment to peel off the mat rather than coming up in one chunk. Good. Last 2. Working to stabilise those knees, stabilise those hips by drawing in on those abdominals and glutes. And the last one, well done. Have a little hug in, little rock side to side. And then when you're ready, we're going to come in to a sitting position. And then in sitting, let's take ourselves into a little adductor stretch. So this one's not suitable if you get any pain in your groin area or in sort of your pelvis. So if you do get pain there, usually when you take things into an adductor stretch like that, then please have a little slump stretch instead and work into your lower back. Equally, if you've got hip replacements and it's not comfortable, then take yourselves into that slump stretch. Otherwise, we're going to bring the feet together, let the knees fall out to the side, sitting up nice and tall, just to where you feel comfortable. The stretch we want is into the adductors here, into those inner thigh areas. It might feel quite high up, almost into the groin. If you want to loosen it off, you can take the feet a little bit further away, just ease off on that stretch. And if you want to deepen it, draw them in a bit more, drop those knees out a little bit further. And just hold that there, enjoying every second of the stretch. Sitting up nice and tall. Couple of seconds more, keep it there, hold it, drop the knees a tiny bit further if you can. Good. And then let's take it into a little stretch. So let's take one leg out in front, cross the other leg over at the knee, And then I'm going to hold that knee in place, coming to the outside of the knee with my elbow and rotate round so I'm looking over my shoulder. So that way I can drive that knee across my body and I can rotate round and get a lovely stretch through my spine. Good. And into the abductor muscles around here a little bit as well. Let's swap over. Take the foot, cross it over at the knee. Use the elbow, or you can use your hand just to pull it across. So we're pulling it across and then we're opening up, sitting up tall and coming round for some nice rotation. Again, just to where you feel comfortable. Keep that knee pinned in place. Lovely. Come back round to centre, untangle the legs, and then we're going to just come to an elegant side sit and then drive up into standing nice and slowly from here. So come up onto your knees, drive up into our standing position. Wonderful, well done. So we're going to take ourselves into that hip distance apart position again, toes out, heels out. Let's remind ourselves of our lovely standing posture. So loosen off the thighs and the knees slightly, pull up tall, find that neutral. Lovely. Drawing in on the abdominals and opening up across the collarbones. We're nice and tall, and then we're going to start that lovely breathing in through the nose, out through the mouth. Fabulous. On the next out breath, you can keep soft knees. We're going to roll down, just coming as far as you feel comfortable. Chin to chest, slide the hands down the front of the legs, and then when you get to the point that you feel is your end of range, hands might be on the floor, you're just going to dangle here. Release the tension out of the shoulders, out of the neck, and then scoop in that tummy button, pull it towards the spine, drawing the hands back up the thighs. And coming up, open up those collarbones again. Let's have another of those. Nice breath in, and on the out breath, let's dive forwards, chin to chest, rolling down, keeping those knees soft. Let it all hang and dangle here. Keep the knees soft, drawing on that tummy button, rolling back up, opening up across the collarbones. Well done. So let's take a nice deep breath in with a shrug and let it go. Another deep breath in with a shrug and let it go. One more deep breath in and let it go. Well done. Thank you for joining me. Take care.